Hey everyone, today we'll be focusing on graphs today. Particularly we will be focusing on adding an edge within our weighted graph, and without any further hesitation, let's get started. And now we will be adding an edge to our weighted graph. So in order for us to actually get started, first thing I'm going to do is that we're going to include our libraries, and we also have our class as well, making sure we have a public instance at the same time inside of our class, so that way it can be called upon by different functions throughout our C++ main file. So the libraries I'm going to have included, there's going to be about 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to have Iowa stream. We will have vector, stack, queue, list, algorithm, and utility. And we will also include our header file, include weighted graph header file that we have over here. Then we're going to have our class in particular. I'm going to call, oh yes, and also don't forget using namespace std. Then we're going to have a class called the weighted graph class. Then we'll always have a public instance as well. In our public instance, we will have our variables, constructor, and necessary tasks we need to do. We need to add an edge, and we need to remove a vertex. We need to remove an edge, perform, def for search iteratively. Then we'll do the same thing recursively. Then we'll do the same thing for breadth first search as well. So, the way we're going to initialize the variables is that a graph typically has vertices, and our adjacency list as well. So vertices, we're going to go into V right up here. I'm just going to comment that as well. Then our adjacency list is really going to be a vector of will be indicated as a list for integers, or there will be a pair for such. We'll have adjacency here. Then we are going to have our constructor. So constructor is going to be called upon like this: weighted graph class, for int v each vertex with respect to each connected vertex as well. And we will resize our adjacency list based on the number of vectors that we have as well. And now for our function to add an edge. So what we will be doing to add an edge is we'll go void add edge int v int w int wt, because for a weighted graph we typically have a number that is associated with each connection for each vertexes respectively, such as down here before. So I'm going to have adjacency v dot pushback for make a pair. We'll have w and wt as well, making sure we have our parentheses already set up in place. Let me just, there we go, that's better. Then we'll do the same thing for w, and I'll just basically just keep everything clean. So w, we replace this with v as well, with the respective connections as well. Now I'm going to head over to our main function as well, so we can actually print this whole thing out. And the way we go about this will be the following: we'll have weighted graph class. I'm going to call this graph 6, and we'll have graph 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to call upon this function as well by using dot add edge. And notice in particular when we add edge, we have 3 different variables that we can add. So we have a vertex v, vertex w, and a weighted graph number as well. So we can do add edge as well. For following, I'm just going to do the same thing for the other one. Edge Second. Int v, so since we have integers, what I'm going to be doing is 0, 1, and 4. Then I'm going to have 1, 2, and 3. You can space them out just to clean it up. Then you're going to have 2, 3, and 2. 3, 4, and 6. Then 4, 5, and 5. And finally, 5, 0, and 7. Then I'm going to call upon our header file by doing weighted graph. I'm going to call this printer. And then I'm going to have printer dot here. Sorry about that, folks. Printer dot print graph for graph dot adjacency list. Since we're printing out a whole list of what we added, let me just build this, make sure everything's good. Build succeeded. And now we have our weighted graph accordingly. Let me just zoom out of that. Okay, yes, so our weighted graph is already set up accordingly. So we have our adjacency list that we have already built. We see the connections between each of the vertices and their respective weighted graph. So we, for instance, would have, for 0, we have 1 and 5 as well. And then we also have the same for 1. We see its connection between 0 and 2 with its respective weighted graph number at the same time. And we see this accordingly within our relationship that we have set up in place over here. And this is what our weighted graph would look like when we added the edge. Now, let's head over and focus on removing a vertex from our weighted graph.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for taking time to watch this. If you found this video helpful, be sure and feel free to please like and subscribe. And if you do have any other questions or suggestions, please put them in the comment section. And as always, take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.